For the people of Israel, Joshua 5:6, for the people of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness until all the nation, the men of war who came out of Egypt, perished because they did not obey the voice of the Lord. The Lord swore to them that he would not let them see the land that the Lord had sworn to their fathers to give to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, back in Genesis chapter 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I mean, just all over the place. God had made promises to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob. He had passed along these promises throughout the generations. He had made these promises to Israel and to their forefathers that he was going to bring them out of the land. Specifically in Genesis chapter 15, this is clearly seen. Genesis 15, God's promise, his covenant that he made with Abraham. Your people they're going to go into a land that is not their own. They're going to serve that nation, but then I'm going to rescue them from that nation, and I'm going to bring them out into a new land, to their promised inheritance. But when we get to this point, God has brought them out of the land of Egypt. He's brought them to Mount Sinai. He's given them his law. And then Moses had sent 12 spies into the land, but when these 12 spies came back, 10 of them brought an evil report, and they stirred up the people to rebel against God and to not believe that God was going to come through, to reject God and to believe that God would act unfaithfully toward them. That's basically what it came down to. They did not believe that God would remain true to his word, or that God was actually that powerful. And so this is why they were forced to walk for 40 years in the wilderness. It's because the people of Israel, they walked 40 years in the wilderness until all the nation, the men of war who came out of Egypt, they perished because they did not obey the voice of the Lord. They did not believe him. They did not trust that he was going to fight their battles, that he was going to fulfill his promises, and that he was going to be faithful as always. They did not believe him. They did not trust him. They did not obey him. And so they were forced for 40 years to walk in the wilderness until they all died. And what God was going to do was he was going to raise up the next generation to take their spot and to go into the land and receive what God had promised to their forefathers. And so the Lord, he swore to them, to that generation, that he would not let them see the land that the Lord had sworn to their fathers to give to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. This surely was a good land. Obviously, every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord, but because of disobedience, this generation missed out, and now the Lord, in Joshua chapter 5, verse 6, the Lord is bringing their kids, their children, sons and daughters, into the land. They, so far, have been faithful to trust that God was going to fight their battles, fulfill his promises, and be faithful as always. And so Joshua 5:6, for the people of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness until all the nation, the men of war who came out of Egypt, perished because they did not obey the voice of the Lord. The Lord swore to them that he would not let them see the land that the Lord had sworn to their fathers to give to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Joshua 5:6.